Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and a warm welcome to today's webinar, which is brought to you by Shared Services Inc. in partnership with Auditoria. Today, we're looking at the 6 winning ways to automate accruals in your ERP. My name is Susie West. I'm the founder and CEO at Shared Services Link, and I'm delighted to be introducing Taylor Mogland, who is Senior Product Manager at Auditoria, and Srini Gudigunbla, who is Senior Director, Business Technology and Transformation at LiveRamp.
So let's look a little bit deeper into the challenges with accruals specifically. Starting with your ERPs, ERPs are a great way to get all of your accounting information at month end, and also is where all the system of record and the source of truth for all of your information, including your list of suppliers, your list of purchase orders, your list of maybe purchase requisitions, contracts, whatever data you're using to come up with a supplier expense estimate. But they haven't been built to handle complexity of when there's some variability month over month, and you might need to either reach out to a business stakeholder at your company to ask them how much of spend has been accrued for a month end, or even reach out to the vendor or supplier directly to get more information. Think like a legal firm that has a variable amount of hours that they charge every month. You can't just guess that using the ERP calculation. You need to reach out and figure out how much time has been accrued to accurately report your expenses. As the economy changes and things are more kind of turbulent and there's different, changes in interest rates, it's also really important to be able to get a more accurate insight and be able to have good visibility into month over month what you would expect to spend as it relates to accruals. It can be, stressful and time consuming to go through some of the manual things we talked about. So gathering all the documents from the system of record, your ERP, maybe you've got a separate contract system, you've got a separate AP mailbox where there's all the other kind of information happening, and this is also stressful and time consuming to go through. Next, the time to close at month end is short. From the time that AP closes to the time that you need to close your books is typically 3 to 4 days, maybe a little bit longer. But if you need to account for variability in supplier spend month over month, having the most efficient way possible to get this estimate so that your team can focus on more higher value add tasks like working with estimates or kind of judgment calls at other parts of the close process. It's an area where there's opportunity for improvement. And I kind of mentioned this, but just having different systems and different, sources of information and having them all come together. So I'm also going to have Srini add some commentary on this one about some of the industry challenges with accruals, if he has anything to add.
So basically the accrual is one of the extremely important information in financial statement, and also this takes some significant amount of time during the close, and the timing is also important. So acknowledging it is important. We need to solve this problem. It is extremely challenging and difficult to reduce the close cycle. So the reason why it is complex is you need to interact with so many different groups within company and outside of the company, like a business stakeholders, finance, accounting, legal, suppliers, requesters, right? Within a finite amount of time, 2 days or 3 days, unless you automate to a level where it can be automated. Otherwise, either you will compromise on the quality or you need to rush through it, or it takes so much time. So we are no different than most of the companies. Accuracy, timing, and automation, these are the key 3 things. So I've been supporting the accounting and finance very, very long time. So I see the same problems across the different companies.
So there's 6 winning ways to automate accruals that we're going to speak through today, and I'm going to spend time going through each of them in detail. But so this is just showing here an overview of the 6. The first one centered around the emailing component of month-end expense accruals. The next, the ability to auto estimate with focused attention. Third, workbooks that need to be created for auditors and other internal stakeholders, and how you can automate this time-consuming process. Over on the second column, using advanced technology to review more quickly and be able to detect anomalies without needing to review every single item. Increased confidence based on just the completeness and inputs of data through using the ERP integrations from the ERPs that you're already using today. And then lastly, how automating helps reduce your compliance risk. So let's start with the first one, better response rates. By sending and responding to less emails, you would get better response rates. And this slide here is an overview of what an environment would look like if you were connecting. So imagine you've connected a smart bot to your Gmail box that you're using to reach out to your internal stakeholders and suppliers to get estimates, and you've also connected to your systems of record, whether it's Workday, Oracle, SAP, whatever system that you're using, and you've got different kind of internal and external stakeholders that might interact with the process. One thing that needs to happen for some of your suppliers is going to be reaching out and sending emails. And these are very time consuming to put together and very painful because you have to go and download a report from your system. You have to check whether or not the invoice has already been received. And if it hasn't been input, maybe it's been received but just needs to be accrued as a draft invoice. Or maybe you haven't received an invoice for the month at all and you're not sure where to go off of. And you would then need to reach out to the budget owner, this requester, or maybe even reach out to the supplier directly to figure out what the spend accrual should be for that month. And the process of gathering all that data is super time consuming, drafting the emails, following up, and then ultimately creating an accrual entry from all of that. It just takes a lot of time. So what the automation helps with is automating the gathering and input of that data into an email template that would be automated and could be sent out to the different stakeholders, and then listens for responses, which is something that the ERPs cannot offer. The ERPs can offer, a list of all the information, a lot of useful details, and the ability to post the entries and review them. But the piece, like that last mile piece of reaching out and getting the details, is the missing link with this one here. The second winning way to automate accruals is by auto estimating with focused attention. So I was just talking about some of the suppliers where you can't auto estimate, that requires input from the suppliers, but imagine you have some suppliers that are really straightforward, where you know exactly what their accrual is going to be because you're paying them one annual invoice or one annual PO that needs to be spread out over the full year. So in this case, Auditoria can choose for a subset of your suppliers to just skip reach out and then automatically just accrue. So you can be flexible in the sense, like by automating, you can focus on the ones that require judgment, that would be an email, but then you can also fully automate ones that do not require judgment. So when you're thinking about your overall month-end close, instead of focusing on all of your suppliers, you're only focusing on reviewing estimates for those suppliers that have variability month over month. So by auto estimating, you can focus your attention onto the suppliers where there might be more judgment. The third winning way to automate is through automated workbooks. Typically, when you're going about making your accruals, you enter the entry into the ERP, which is only one step of the process. You also have to create some sort of supporting documentation so that you can back up your estimates when auditors or other team members might come and ask questions. So imagine for the higher judgment type supplier expense accrual estimates, you're emailing them, you might get a statement back with some offline calculation, and you're doing a bunch of different things that help you come up with the number that's in the entry. That's typically saved in some spreadsheet, maybe an Excel macro that each team member that's doing different accrual areas would maintain and then submit to their manager, and it gets saved and given to the auditors when needed. So by putting your accruals into a system where you can track emails and track offline calculations and all the different supporting artifacts, the user no longer needs to maintain that offline spreadsheet. The goal is that it's all in one central place that can be maintained automatically. And this saves a ton of time at month end in the sense that the end preparer doesn't need to create that. The reviewer can review everything in one place and doesn't need to wait to receive the final workbook, and can even start reviewing midway through close. So instead of reviewing all the journal entries at 3 a.m. the day before closing the books, the manager can review them piecemeal as certain responses and information comes into the system, working with their team kind of more interactively in a collaborative manner. So that's kind of one of the main benefits. And then lastly, the external auditors get access to what they need. All right, so the fourth way to win through automating accruals is through easier review and anomaly detection. I was kind of actually already touching on this, but thinking through, breaking your suppliers into the ones that have more judgment and the ones that you can very easily estimate based on your knowledge of their spend over the year. So the reviewer doesn't need to spend very much time on suppliers that you know exactly what the accrual is going to be. So the first focus area would be an accrual where there is some judgment. The next way that you could focus is if month over month, let's say for a certain supplier, there's some flux amount, so it went 50% higher than it did in previous months, that would be a good indication that someone should review. Whereas suppliers that have a pretty consistent within some threshold, maybe 5 to 10%, the manager can spend less time reviewing. So this saves, again, time that, late nights during the month-end close can be avoided because there's more focus in the anomaly detection. So the fifth way is the ability to have just increased confidence in the completeness, and management can be more comfortable in the completeness and accuracy and feel more confident. So the reviewers are being able to really focus and review on the high judgment areas, and maybe like someone even more higher up, like a controller or someone that wants to just get a macro level view, can log into the system and see how many suppliers there were accruals for, what the amount is, and overall have comfort. And another big source of comfort over the completeness is through the integrations to the systems of record, and the starting points being all of the open purchase orders, all of the open contracts, and a list of all the suppliers in the system, and having a complete kind of scan and reference point based on the different kind of business expectations. You can feel comfortable that what was processed would be a full view of the potential expense areas and be able to see it all in one place. So our last way is the auto estimation with focused attention. So ultimately, by using advanced technology and all the ways that we've kind of been building up on and solving the different pain points, you're able to reduce your compliance risk. And this helps when the auditors are doing their standard scan for unrecorded liabilities by going back and forth between the previous invoices and comparing what's accrued in the month to what actually ends up getting invoiced in the month, by using a system to make sure that every single PO and comparing, back and forth how the estimates were to what the actual results were in the following month, and then improving on from there. This is going to give much more comfort in the completeness and accuracy of the liabilities that are recorded at close. And this will make your auditors more comfortable, and then ultimately reduce any compliance risk in your expense accruals space. So tying back to the ability to reduce the compliance risk, so also being able to see those workbooks that we talked about. So the auditors can access either the system and to view the full visibility into what's been done, and they can also download a zip file that would include all of the key information that was used to support the estimates that were posted. That was our introduction of the 6 winning ways and the different pain points and different automation opportunities that can be taken advantage of